Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo to Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, my beautiful Chargers fans. Everybody in the comment section below right now, if you are excited for this upcoming Thursday with the draft approaching, I need to see a bolt up. I need to see lightning bolts. I need to see the hype in the chat, baby, as the Chargers will be on the board in just a couple of days where they're going to welcome in a brand new batch of rookies. And honestly, as a Chargers fan, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. This is one of those rare seasons, right? Seldom do we see a season where it's like the Chargers don't have all these pressing needs. Like, what are the Chargers going to do without a right tackle or a left tackle or a cornerback? This season, I would say that the roster's looking pretty good, right? And that opens up a lot of flexibility for what the Chargers can do at pick number 21. The possibilities are endless, so all we as Chargers fans need to do is put our feet up, relax, and have a good time. Still, it's not going to stop us from speculating, right? We want to know every scenario, every situation, every possibility for the Chargers at 21 with so much big talent that could still be available to the Chargers at that point. Bijan Robinson, Nolan Smith, edge, wide receiver, lots and lots could go down. But one of the biggest scenarios that you guys keep asking me to cover on this channel at least is, director, what about the trade down, right? Can the Chargers trade down? What kind of value are they looking at? Honestly, for the first time in a long time, I think it's absolutely possible that the Chargers do trade down, grab a couple more picks, help themselves out in terms of cap, by having more rookies on the roster while they pay Justin Herbert. I think 100% absolutely possible that could happen, and that's what we're going to cover in today's video. What would the draft look like if the Chargers traded down in the first round? What kind of value we're looking at, and maybe what kind of other positions can we be targeting with some extra picks down the road? So it's going to be a good one, man. All I got to tell you guys is that this turned out to be an awesome draft for me, and I'm super excited to share with you guys my results. Now, before we do, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. I feel like I'd been doing fantasy sports wrong until I found Underdog Fantasy. I know the NFL season isn't here right now, but if you guys do enjoy daily fantasy sports, with the NHL and NBA and baseball, whatever, during the football offseason, this is the place to be. Use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100 and get in on the action there. Now let's get into this one, guys. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this trade down mock draft. Lights, camera, action. Your Chargers 2023 NFL mock draft with a trade back or a trade down scenario inserted. Kind of give us an idea of what we're looking at in terms of value. So round one. All right, let's just jump right into it. Did you guys know that a trade is coming, right? So what are the guidelines, or I should say the outlines of this trade? Who did the Chargers ended up picking up the phone with? Well, there's been one player in particular that kept falling to us at pick number 21. And there was a team where I felt he would very much so fit on, and a team that would actually trade up to go get him. His name, Elijah Cansey. And I do believe that the Chargers might be able to find a trade partner with the right team, let's say in the later or mid of the 20s in terms of draft capital. So the Chargers in this instance are going to trade with the Dallas Cowboys, getting their first, which is pick number 26, as well as a third-round pick in exchange for the Chargers' first-rounder and I think fourth-rounder. So at the end of the day, the Chargers were able to turn a fourth-rounder into a third-rounder, giving themselves some more premium picks in the top 3 rounds. So with that pick, that in mind, what are the Chargers going to do now at pick number 26? Well, with the silhouette, I'm sure you guys can maybe come to some conclusions. Kind of looks like a skill position, right? Could be a cornerback going for the interception. Could be a running back churning out yards. Well, I'm going to go ahead and follow the rumors that we've been hearing that the Chargers are indeed targeting a wide receiver very early. Now, early could mean anything. It could be, a day 2 pick. It could be the first round. It could be, maybe draft or round number 4. Who knows? I personally think that the Chargers, with this brand new mindset and offense, this brand new offensive coordinator, and honestly just a need for speed on this team, are going to stick to their guns and pick a wide receiver at 26. Now, the question is, who fell to us at 26? I think around this point in the first round is where you're going to see as so long as there hasn't been a run on wide receivers yet, you're going to see some of the best value at the position of wide receiver, because there's a lot of other positions that are going to get selected before wide receiver. I can promise you that. Who decided, or who fell to the Chargers at this point at pick 26? Let's go ahead and reveal. The Chargers at pick 26 are going to select Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC. Wide receiver out of USC. Now, let me go ahead and back this up by saying this video is based on a mock draft that I did on PFF a couple hours before putting together all the photos and assets, right? And surprisingly, at pick 26, because I wasn't really sure who would be available. I was like, I kind of know I want a receiver. Maybe if there's value at tight end, which there weren't any tight ends available. To see Jordan Addison's name still available at the position of wide receiver was kind of shocking. I think before him was Quentin Johnson, which is fair. A lot of people think that he's got a higher ceiling, as well as Zay Flowers, which again, maybe more of a fit for the Chargers in terms of speed and what they need. But let's not forget the talent of Jordan Addison, who falls to pick 26 to the Chargers. USC guy. I think he's already met with the Chargers. Definitely has the upside to be a wide receiver 1 in the future. What you're getting out of a Jordan Addison, let's say this does happen, right? Let's say the Chargers do trade back. They get an extra third-round pick, and they grab a Jordan Addison. What are they adding to the team? Well, for one, he's not a slow dude. Sure, he's not labeled a burner. But compared to almost everybody else in the Chargers roster, outside of a Jalen Guyton, I would say that Jordan Addison would be one of the fastest wide receivers on this team. Certainly faster than Keenan and Mike Williams. That's number 1 right there, man. First off, he's adding the speed that the Chargers desperately need. And yes, this dude can stretch the field. He'd be that kind of player that the Chargers and Justin Herbert can start throwing more H-bombs and stretching out the defense a little bit. Jordan Addison would be wildly successful in that aspect. But what you're getting in Jordan Addison is much more than just good speed, right? Not elite speed, but good speed. This cat, honestly, guys, and I've said this a couple of times throughout my past couple of videos, there's very few players in this draft that I would feel comfortable saying, hey, you know, maybe we know that Keenan Allen is moving on past the 2023 season. Maybe the Chargers, maybe their hands are cuffed, right? And they really don't have any choice but to separate from Keenan due to the money issues. If you guys didn't know, Keenan Allen, I think, is going to be hitting for somewhere in like $34 million next season. Maybe the Chargers know that they either have to extend him or cut him loose. And in the instance that the Chargers might have to cut him loose, outside of JSN, I think Jordan Addison would be best suited to step in as the Chargers separator. AKA the man that's with the plan on the first downs, right? If the Chargers need first down help, the Chargers need healthy drives, if the Chargers need what Keenan Allen's been providing for the past decade, I think Jordan Addison could be that guy. This dude has one of the most complete route trees you'll find in the draft. He's excellent in separation. He's truly one of those wide receivers that can be a difference maker in all aspects, not just with speed. Very complete player. I think has wide receiver 1 upside and would instantly insert himself into this Chargers offense as a threat, especially in year 1 where he gets to play with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. You can throw him and, you know, Josh Palmer in together at times, but I do think Jordan Addison has a very high ceiling. I think he's also got a high floor. I think, again, what he offers in terms of route running and speed is very much going to be appreciated by Justin Herbert. And this will be one of those wide receivers that you can see Herbert, you know, throwing to for the rest of his career pretty much. I think Jordan Addison would be a smashing success there. And again, depending on who's there at wide receiver, I think the Chargers not only find a better value, but honestly, maybe find themselves in a better position to grab a guy that they want. It could be Jordan Addison all along. It could be Quentin Johnson. It could be Zay Flowers. I still think one of those guys is going to be available at pick 26. And if that's the case, the Chargers get themselves a fantastic value as well as a fantastic player. In this case, it was Jordan Addison. I absolutely think that's possible. This would be a huge, huge win for the Chargers in the first round. Next up, let's get to round 2, pick 2 for the Chargers. Again, keep in mind they do have an extra third rounder coming up. The Chargers, let's say here, and round 2 at pick number 54 are going to select edge Derek Hall out of Auburn. Derek Hall out of Auburn. Now, I don't know how many people are super high on Derek Hall. I keep seeing him around this spot, maybe actually a little bit lower second round in a lot of mock drafts. Me personally, I think Derek Hall deserves a very high second round grade, maybe even a low first round grade. That's how good this edge class is. So I went into this draft with a couple of objectives, okay? The first objective I had, following the rumors of the Chargers, was getting some speed on offense and value at wide receiver. But trading down kind of guarantees that, and then you just kind of have to see who's available at wide receiver late in the first round. In this instance, it was Jordan Addison. Very, very nice value. In the second round, I knew that I wanted to get in on a couple of these positions that are kind of freakishly good in this year's draft class, and that being edge or tight end. Tight end at this point, you know, we've seen a Kincaid go off the board. We've seen a Michael Mayer go off the board. There's a couple of guys I do really like in the second round that I certainly would consider, but I also want to take advantage of this freakishly good edge class. Derek Hall would not be here under normal circumstances in any other draft class. He is very, very good, and I think he's got a very high ceiling as well. One big thing that you're going to get out of Derek Hall that I know Brandon Staley's going to love, and I know the Chargers defense is going to appreciate, is going to be that size and speed. You know, he's got the tools to really go out there and instantly become a starter for the Chargers here the next couple of seasons, especially as their future with Khalil Mack and all that, you know, money is uncertain. I also think Derek Hall is very, very good against the run, right? So already you're looking at measurables, you're looking at speed, you're looking at size, and you're looking at a great ability versus the run, which automatically gives him a role with the team in 2023, which is very, very nice. But the biggest thing I love about Derek Hall is his upside as a pass rusher, right? This guy, again, this combination of size and speed is very nice. He's, I would say, developing as a pass rusher still, and I don't know if his ceiling has really been discovered yet. Not even his floor as a pass rusher. I think Derek Hall could end up being one of those guys that slips into the second round that everybody's scratching their head as to why in a couple of years. In a couple of years, people will say, wow, Derek Hall, what a steal in the second round. I think, again, the Chargers going into this draft class, grabbing an edge early in the first 3 rounds, I would even say the first 2 rounds, I would say is kind of important. And I think Derek Hall would be a great value here. Sure, there's a couple other guys that I think the Chargers in their range could still take advantage of. If they trade down, I don't think there's going to be much available there outside of maybe a Will McDonald. But in the second round, I do see some possibilities like Foskey and Derek Hall. I think Derek Hall kind of fits what the Chargers want to do a little bit better, even though he's not from Notre Dame. I think it would be a smashing success in the second round. So the Chargers, second round, Derek Hall, they're going to grab their edge. Now let's roll into the third round, and this is where we get to start seeing the fruits of our labors with the trade down scenario. This is where the Chargers to begin to feel like, okay, here's the flexibility, right? Now we have an extra pick. Let's go out there and select our next player knowing that we have some more flexibility. So in round 3, the Chargers, with their own pick at 85, they're going to go out there and they're going to draft a player I think is a huge steal in this round that I see almost every single mock draft in this range. His name's going to be Jordan Battle, safety out of Alabama. Now, the Chargers last season, they went out there and they took, was it JT Woods in the 3rd round, right? They took a safety in the 3rd round. And I think a lot of us Chargers fans at this point are a little shaky on our opinion of JT Woods. I think he was very much so going to be a developmental guy. The Chargers kind of knew this, but Coach Staley really liked what he brought to the table, I would assume, in terms of tools, right? Very fast, very physical, very tall, very good in terms of, ball skills, et cetera, et cetera. Jordan Battle is going to be something else entirely, okay? I feel like his floor is so much more impressive than JT Woods that Jordan Battle would take the battle for safety, for starting safety instantly, and he could round out as to one of the top half safeties in the league in his rookie season. This dude is absolutely insane. Now, where he does maybe suffer a little bit is flexibility, versatility. This is a reason why we haven't really covered him very much. If you guys notice, a lot of the DBs that I've covered in terms of safety have had the ability to move around a little bit, right? Because I know Brandon Staley likes that. He wants to be able to play him in the box, closer to the line of scrimmage, in the slot. That's not really Jordan Battle's game. But what Jordan Battle does provide in terms of coverage is exactly what the Chargers need. After a retiring Nasir Adderley this season, who really wasn't living up to expectations, Jordan Battle, in terms of coverage, I would say higher ceiling than Nasir Adderley, much higher floor than even what he played last season. This dude's a ball hawk. This dude's a playmaker. This dude's a thumper. I love everything about Jordan Battle, and I do believe this system in Alabama with Nick Saban is going to translate very, very well for a Brandon Staley and give the Chargers an instant difference maker opposite Derwin James. I think this would be an awesome pick. Again, this is assuming the Chargers did not go after John Johnson III. Maybe at this point, the Chargers are thinking to themselves, we're going to go out and get John Johnson after the draft if we still need him. If they see Jordan Battle available in the 3rd round and they have an extra 3rd round pick to play with, go ahead and save that money, grab the rookie. This dude is going to be phenomenal at the next level, especially in a system like the Chargers operate in on defense. So Jordan Battle, one of the fruits of your labors of this trade. You knew you have another 3rd round pick coming up. You were able to grab a Jordan Battle to shore up that defensive back unit. All right. So with the extra pick provided by the Dallas Cowboys, right? The Chargers moved down with the Cowboys so they can go get themselves. I can't see now the Chargers have themselves an extra 3rd round pick in the 3rd round at pick number 90 via the Dallas Cowboys. Is that the right pick right there? I do believe it is. At pick number 90, the Chargers in the 3rd round are going to select one of my favorite prospects in this entire draft at a position I know you guys know that I want to go in on. It's going to be Zach Coons, tight end out of Old Dominion. Okay. When you guys see me mock draft, which let's be honest, I think we've done what 3 or 4 so far on the channel this year. A lot of the times when we don't go in on tight end in the first couple of rounds, and I'm talking, a Dalton Kincaid, a Michael Mayer, a Sam Laporta. When we don't do that, a lot of the times I try and find value on Zach Coons. Okay. But the biggest difference in this mock draft that you'll find is that a lot of the times when I'm drafting Coons, it's going to be in the 4th round. He usually is available per PFF in that round. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I don't think he's going to slip into the 4th round. I think a lot of people like me are seeing this ridiculous ceiling in front of them for a Zach Coons, and they're thinking to themselves, hey, if we got to reach a little bit to get this guy, so be it. And that's what a trade down scenario does for you if you're the Chargers. Not only do you get your safety, which, in any other situation or any other scenario, I don't think you draft this year. You could, but I think it's less likely. But not only that, you can take a chance on a Zach Coons by drafting him a little bit earlier than he's being projected. I don't think GMs are dumb. I don't think scouts are dumb. I think what Zach Coons went out there and did at the combine, showing off freakish athleticism, really raising his ceiling, giving you shades of Mike Gesicki. Again, I see a lot of George Kittle, in terms of his upside. I think that turned a lot of heads. And I think these intelligent GMs and these intelligent scouts are pounding the table and saying, hey, man, maybe if people are thinking he's in the 4th round, we got to go in on him in the 3rd. And that trade down with the Dallas Cowboys is going to allow you to do that. So now the Chargers, let's go ahead and recap here real quick because I love Zach Coons. And again, to wrap up on what I think Zach Coons could be, Coons has a ceiling of the Chargers tight end 1 for the next 10 years. He is fast. He is freakishly athletic. He's a vertical threat. He's got decent, I would say blocking too is definitely not bad. He's got a great ceiling. His floor, a little bit of a mystery, and that's why he's in the 4th round projected. I don't think that's the case anymore for a lot of people. I'm taking him in the 3rd. So go ahead, again, to recap a little bit, the Chargers in the first few rounds, they get their wide receiver, which again, they kind of stated that they need, that has some speed. In the 2nd round, they get that edge. They get a little piece of that edge class, which I think is very important this year. In the 3rd round, they get Jordan Battle. I think a steal and a huge difference maker in the 3rd round. You're very seldom going to find players like this. Also in the 3rd round, they're going to pick up a tight end, which is also taking advantage of this freakish tight end class. I think this is a great start to our trade down scenario. So how do we cap this off, man? I think if we were to end it right there, the first 3 rounds, this is already a success. But what did the Chargers still have up their sleeves? Well, the Chargers, in trading down with the Dallas Cowboys, did trade away their 4th round pick. Okay, so they essentially turned that 4th into a 3rd. So that now we would have to skip into the 5th round. In round 5, the Chargers are going to select, at pick number 156, Andre Yoshida. Okay, wide receiver out of Princeton. Oh my God, I'm so excited to show off this name to you dudes. I have not talked once about this guy. I've been reading up so much on him. He was kind of on my radar a couple of months ago. And since then, dudes, I don't know if we stumbled on him. I think maybe one of you guys had mentioned his name a couple of weeks ago in the comments section. I got really looking into him. And this dude could be one of the steals of the draft, who I see, again, consistently taken in and around the 6th round, depending on where you're doing your mock drafts. Yoshida could be one of the most insane late round steals of this year. Now, let me explain. Now, this dude, for one, isn't small. I think somewhere around 6'4". Okay, so instantly you think to yourself, well, director, does he have that, jump ball ability like maybe a Mike Williams has? To that, I kind of have to answer, yeah, he kind of does. I cannot tell you how many times I saw this guy go up there and just body out defenders for those first downs, those touchdowns. He's a huge red zone threat, right? Very, very capable in terms of maybe a little bit of what Mike Williams does. And we know that Justin Herbert likes that trait in his wide receivers. But one of the biggest reasons you're buying into Yoshida is that big playability downfield. This dude is a seam destroyer. This dude is a sideline destroyer. This dude was meant to play the deep ball. He reminds me very much so of Christian Watson. Okay? 6'4", very fast. I think he ran a 4.43, which again isn't a burner, but wow, is that fast, especially for his size. Now, again, this is a situation where the Chargers have a little bit of flexibility. All right, they took their safety already. This is where I would maybe start thinking of backup safeties, et cetera, et cetera. No, they got a starting safety in the 3rd round. Okay, well, maybe we go in on a linebacker. Some of the linebackers I like are probably going to be in the 4th or 3rd round. They're kind of gone. Why not double dip at wide receiver? Why not go out there, right, and get yourself a wide receiver 1 potential in Jordan Addison, who does have some speed, right? While also drafting a little later in the draft, especially if he's going to be a steal like Yoshida, that has that speed that you're looking for, right? Him and Jalen Guyton, it would be kind of reminiscent of what we had with Guyton and Tyron Johnson. But I think Yoshiva's ceiling is probably a lot higher than Johnson's, which is pretty crazy to find in the 5th round. I think Yoshida is going to develop, if he's with the Chargers, into that deep threat that Jalen Guyton is now, but again, maybe a higher ceiling. Maybe this is the guy that steps in and takes over that role later. Him and Jordan Addison thrusted into this offense is just going to give you that burst of speed that this offense has desperately been looking for the past several seasons, while also giving you nice attributes outside of that speed. With a Jordan Addison, it's definitely going to be the ability to get open, separate, route runner, right? That this is the guy. This is the guy that kind of steps into that Keenan Allen role later down the road. Very, very good wide receiver, complete wide receiver. And this guy, he's your speedster, right? He's that field stretcher while also having the physical, traits to body out defenders. Now, sure, he's not from the biggest program. He hadn't had like the top talent or the top tier, defenders against him in the nation. But from what I saw, this dude could be a huge, huge steal in the later rounds. So I'm going to go ahead and take Yoshida. And who doesn't want to have Yoshi on their team, right? Prince Yoshi is what we'll call him out here on the stream. Love it. Love that in the 5th round. All right, to wrap it up, guys, we got a couple other names that I think the Chargers would be wise to add in the later rounds. Let's go into round 6 for the Chargers. And in round 6, at pick number 200, the Chargers are going to pick up Anthony Johnson, cornerback out of Virginia. And the reasoning behind this, at least for me, is that I feel like Brandon Staley is incapable of drafting without grabbing his cornerback, right? At least our defensive back, I should say. This man, I feel, really understands the value of the position. Sure, we did get Jasir Taylor and Dean Leonard last season, but I do think that cornerback still needs a little bit of reinforcement. Especially if you're not super confident in a Dean Leonard. I think that he's developing nicely. But what you're getting out of Anthony Johnson is a 6'2", fast corner that's got great ball skills. Okay, kind of reminiscent of what we saw in some of the Chargers later round corners last season. If anything, I feel like loading up your depth with guys that are good at interceptions, at picking off the ball, definitely not a bad idea. I feel like he fits the mold of a Brandon Staley, and getting him in round 6, I think, would also be kind of a steal. Some of these guys, again, I view as steals, even though they're pretty consistently available in these rounds or a little bit later. I think Anthony Johnson would be a very, very wise pick for the Chargers in terms of their depth at DB later in the draft. And finally, to round out this draft, I think the Chargers do decide to go with a little bit more depth on the defense. In this instance, the defensive line, which I do think the Chargers might need to look at, even if it's just undrafted players this season, because of the Chargers, let's say, a little bit lack of depth at defensive line. We lost Fayoko, we lost Covington. In this instance, I have the Chargers taking a defensive lineman with their last pick in Jonah Tavai. I'm sure there's guys that know this man out of San Diego State. Again, one of those guys that is going to be out there, let's say, behind the Tito or on the practice squad, or somebody that can fill in that maybe has that Fayoko upside a little bit. I don't know if that's his play or his game, but I think he would be a very nice piece of depth for this Chargers defensive line. So that's going to round it out for this 7-round mock draft of the Chargers trade down scenario. I want to start seeing your guys' opinions in the comments section below as we get hyped for Thursday, which again, remember guys, we're going to be live Thursday. It's going to be a big event live stream. It should be a lot of fun. But quick recap here, man. How do you guys feel about this? The Chargers trading down with the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to go after Kansas. This gives the Chargers an opportunity to pick up a wide receiver late in the first round. Turns out it's going to be Jordan Addison, who's been falling quite a bit in the past couple of weeks. I still think that's crazy. One of the best wide receivers in this year's draft. I would say a much safer floor is what you're getting out of Jordan Addison. And then round 2, the Chargers going in on Derek Hall, edge out of Auburn. I think that's, again, a lot of these picks I would call not steals, but values. In terms of how I view the player, I think Derek Hall shouldn't be there in the middle of the second round. But again, this draft class kind of dictates it. Lots of talent at edge. It's going to push itself down there a little bit. So Derek Hall, great upside there. Round 3, you're going to get Jordan Battle. Again, I think another starting caliber player in the third round, which I don't know how many times it's going to happen. Very few times you're going to see something like that happen. It's got to be a position that doesn't get drafted too high, like a running back, safety, those kinds of guys, fullback, kicker, punter, those kinds of guys. The top tier talent at those positions can still be found in the second and third round, in my opinion. And I think Jordan Battle, for what he does and what the Chargers need, would be a great fit for this team. And then again in round 3, we're going to get Zach Coons, which again, maybe a little bit of a reach. I don't care, man. I want in on this tight end class. And I think Coons, man, he could surprise a lot of people. A lot of people. Then the Chargers skipping round 4, traded to the Cowboys. Going to go in round 5 on Andre Yoshida. Love this man. If you haven't checked him out, guys, definitely please go check him out. Chargers get another speedster. So the Chargers going in 2 times on the wide receiver position. Another speedster to match up with Jalen Guyton. You got yourself some speed and a really nice wide receiver. I would say 2 in Jordan Addison. Very nice, looking good so far. In the 6th round, you're going to get Anthony Johnson, depth corner. In round 7, you're going to get Jonah Tavai, defensive lineman depth for the Chargers as well. So I feel really good about this draft, guys. What do you guys think? Are there any other players that maybe you would fool around with? Maybe like in the, let's say with the extra 3rd round pick, would you go a different position? Would you go safety? What would you guys do if, let's say, the Chargers do want to go after John Johnson III? What else can we do with that 3rd round pick? I'll be honest with you guys, okay? As somebody that's very high on Bijan Robinson, when we don't draft him, which let's be honest, it's a lot of the time, right? It's a running back in the 1st round. When we don't draft him, I'm very high on some of these other guys you're going to find in the 2nd and 3rd round. Tyjae Spears is someone, let's say the Chargers do get John Johnson, you could easily get Spears in the 3rd round and feel very good about that running back room. Then again, it's a little bit crowded. There's other things that you can do with that pick, including even receiver. There's going to be guys like, Palmer that are still available, Mims that could still be available. You never know. And that would push maybe, Yoshida off of the table, but at the same time, you have options, lots of options. So you guys let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Yoshida!